Hi. Mick Collins.
De Dirtbombs.
Salut.
Et il a des amis qui forment une compagnie.
Let's see. Ben Blackwell, Pat Pantano, Troy Gregory, and Nicole Molina. You have two drummers. Yeah, two drummers and two bass players. I'm from Detroit, where we never really cared about reaching a large number of people. Detroit is a very economically depressed town, and there's nothing to do. There's nothing else to do in Detroit except be in a band, so there's only 2 or 3 decent clubs. There's nothing there. If you want entertainment, you have to make it yourself. We really were just playing for our friends. Everybody's in a band, and it's all this, you go out and see 3 different bands, it's all the same people all the time. And that really is where it all comes from. Like all the techno guys, all the rock people, all the arts people in town. It really just comes out of a sense of there's nothing else to do. The big art shows are not going to come through town, so we might as well make our own. A lot of bands from Detroit will get out into the larger world and think, what are they listening to that makes this so great? Like, we never thought of it as being anything out of the ordinary. It's for people outside of Detroit to say that it's the descendant of this kind of music or that kind of music, or to say it's descended from the MC5 or from Motown or from Detroit blues or from Detroit techno, or it just to us it's just music. Everybody else can say what they like about it. We don't really care. Although I like the blues, I'm not a big fan of the blues. I'm not a devotee of the blues. The honest truth is I don't really listen to a lot of those bands. I'm sure they're fine, but it really isn't not really my interest. There are some good bands out there, sure, but generally speaking, my interests are a lot more towards dance music. The Dirtbombs, even though we're a rock band, we make rock music you can dance to. records are not meant to be any indication of what the live show is. The records are really just sort of, oh, we're making an album today. What kind of LP shall we make today? Well, let's make a soul album today. All right, well, let's make a punk rock album today. Oh, let's write an album full of car commercials today. They're not very representative of the band. They're just, it's like, oh, I have an idea in my head. All right, well, let's make an LP with this one idea, and then that'll be the album. The record labels all want us to do LPs, and I think of the Dirtbombs as a singles band. Our 45s are really where I think is the strength of the band, and so I'm very happy that we have a new singles compilation out. The new full length is actually all the singles and some things, which is, I think, much more closer to the band, but the band really is only represented by the live show. I'm trying to avoid saying it's like a painting, because it's not. I mean, we're making an album, but that's really what it is. It's sort of a set piece. I write all the songs around a central theme, or around a basic idea of what the album's going to be like, and then that's the LP. But it has nothing to do with the performance. The LPs are hopefully a way of getting people to come see the live show. But we have people who like the records and don't like the live show because the live show is too loud and we're running around and screaming and throwing things. And then there are people who only like the live show and don't like the records because the records they're too artsy. We're a bunch of artsy fartsies pretending to be a rock and roll band. You have to come see us live to really see what the band is about. The irony is that in America, we always think of bands from the UK as being very structured, very studied. And it's true of bands all through Europe, though. Even the rock bands, it's very studied. They approach rock and roll as if it were classical music, and try and get every little bit down, making it perfect, like making the perfect rock licks and getting the perfect rock sound, with the perfect rock gear and everything. And it's all very formalist, is how I normally tell people about it. Whereas, and when I was first here in 1992, it seemed like all these bands, they had this very formalist attitude about making it, and they would spend, an hour and a half on the sound check trying to get everything to have the perfect rock sound. And then we would get up there and do our thing, and 15 minutes later, the sound check's done, they would be like, what? And we, by the time we got on stage, we were all drunk and screaming and throwing things, and they were like, what is there? What are they doing? Like, hey man, it's rock and roll. so now it seems to be, I don't know if you can make that strong a distinction anymore between what's happening in the United States and what's happening in Europe, because again, thanks to the internet, people are sort of they're able to zero in on the thing that they like from everywhere in the world. And they can make that, and they can approach that as formalist or as loosely as they like. The means of production for music has really gone to the people. Anybody can make a record, and anybody can put an MP3 up online for everyone to hear it. You know, the days of waiting for a major label contract are over, and the record companies pretty much know it. You know, because really, it hasn't really been about the music for the last 15 years. It's been about control of the music. You know, there's a handful of companies, large multimedia companies, who control what people get to hear. And that control is gone now. Anybody can go online and just like plug in, you know, type in any kind of music they want to hear, and it's probably online, and they can hear it. And I really think it's a great thing. I'm all for it. I'm all for peer-to-peer file sharing. I've had a lot of people come up to me over the last year or so tell me that they only bought a Dirtbombs record after hearing the MP3 files. So I got into the habit of putting the MP3 files online myself. So like, if that means people are going to come to the shows, then great. You know, because, you know, we make more money at the shows than we do from the record sales. So, you know, the only people losing money, you know, the only people hurting because of peer-to-peer file sharing are big multinational corporations who don't care about music anyway. So let them lose money, let them go bankrupt, as far as I'm concerned. Those dinosaurs are dead. You know, so I'm all for, you know, people making their own stuff and putting it online. I think that's the way to go. You know, I do miss the records, though. I miss being able to, like, buy a 45 or buy a 12-inch. I miss that part. But there are still a large number of boutique record labels who do that. In fact, there's a couple of labels that I know of who they put the song out on their website as an MP3 file, and they say, okay, if you like it, send us $2. When we get enough money, we'll press a 45. And I think that's great. I think that's a great way of doing it. I hope to do that with my own record label when I get home. I'd try to keep busy. I'm just now getting to where I can put my own records out or put out records that I like. Jason Priest from Spiritualized, I spoke to him a couple of weeks ago, and hopefully he'll get to make a 12-inch single for me. And, you know, some other things, like I'm going to release an LP's worth of the band that I was in before the Gories. And you know, basically anything I like. There's no one type of music I plan on making. It's just anything I want to put out.
What's the name of it?
It's called Metropole. Yeah, like the Russian subway. I got to record a single with Iggy Pop, so I'm very happy about that. We met through the movie because he was already working on the movie when I was asked to do sound. So you should also know that I also have a funk band called the Voltaire Brothers, and I have a techno record coming out next month. Under my own name, so. I also have short stories published, by the way. I have 2 short stories published in America. They have not been translated into any other language. There's a small publisher in California who does it's a specialty house. They specialize in a specific kind of fiction, and I just happened to write it. One story is about a guy who is addicted to painkillers. That's basically what that story's about. The other story was I wrote a short story using some notes. I was trying to come up with a fictional setting, and I wrote a short story in the setting to make sure everything in the setting worked. And then this publisher saw it and said, well, can we publish that? And I'm like, well, that's not the story. That's just some notes I made. And they're like, well, it's a good story. So they published it. Hawk TV. Oh, Languedoc. I've been reading about the Cathars lately. I'm very, very fascinated by the story of the Cathars in the Languedoc region. That's why oops, something came loose here. I wanted to see Toulouse.